longer relevant. I think we got to do the hard work of beginning to reimagine what it means to be a strong, powerful family today, what it means to be a powerful woman and mother today, what it means to be a powerful and an effective man in the community today. We have to do that work and not just simply borrow old ideas that may not be relevant based on the kind of cultural context we're in. So I think that's one of the things we have to begin to do, Rev, without a doubt.
And I think, as you said,
I gotta say Happy Mother's Day to my mother ahead of time, who was a strong woman, who made a tremendous sacrifice for me, clean houses on the weekend and make sure I could finish my college education. And Happy Mother's Day to my wife, who is the mother of both of my children. So I just want to say that to them before we got off.
Well, I'd certainly, and I'll be doing Mother's Day all week. Certainly my mother, this is the second year I'm going without her alive, but I certainly, whatever I have been in life, she's been the bedrock of. And I'm going to talk about mothers all week. Thank God I had a great mother, and I've had other mothers. And we're going to talk about that late in the week, but I wanted the theological grounding of it. Thank you for your being with us again, Reverend, as you travel. Let me thank Reverend Michael Walron. Let me thank all of you that participated today. Thank my executive producer, Fatih Muhammad, technical producer, Lee Majors. Don't forget tonight, and every night, Monday through Friday, 6 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Central, Politics Nation with Al Sharpton. I'll be live on MSNBC. And remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
The views and opinions expressed on this broadcast are not necessarily those of either WGCV 620 AM, its staff or management, or our parent company, Glory Communications Incorporated.
Get ready. Armstrong Williams is up next on WGCV 620 AM, where knowledge is power.
What's going on, everybody? I just want to remind y'all that Mother's Day is this Sunday. Now, what I shouldn't have to remind you of is how much your mama's been doing for you since day one. You
Good God! I got to ask you, what we need? Soul food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. No, I like it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. Hit me.
Home of the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get the Henrys at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul food. Henry Soul Food. What we need. Soul food. Henry Soul Food.
Welcome to the Armstrong Williams Show, brought to you by Golden Crust Bakery, the fastest growing Caribbean-owned franchise in the United States. Golden Crust is committed to the delivery of quality food and excellent customer service. Visit them today at goldencrustbakery.com.
I have just been just so out of sorts over the fact that these three young girls kidnapped over a decade ago, living in the neighborhood, have been pregnant multiple times, and yet no one noticed that anything was out of the ordinary. Did they not leave the house? Did they never have to go to the doctor? I'm just absolutely baffled. We just got to talk about how is that possible? 3 girls all kidnapped by these same brothers who should be shot, as far as I'm concerned. It's mind-boggling to me. I mean, it seems to me that the world is getting sicker and sicker and more demented. What is going on? How can you just steal? I mean, these are not really kids. One of the girls was 22. She's 32 now. They were teenagers over 17 years old. And then how do you hold hostage these 3 grown women and they never had an opportunity to escape? I mean, 10 years is a long time. Hello, Milo.
How are you, Armstrong?
Hot Tablet. Maxie. Maxie. Milo. How is it possible?
Armstrong, I don't know. It's an incredible thing. I just heard about the story, and I was stunned when I read the details on it. As a parent with 2 children, I can't imagine what the parent must feel like. The whole thing is a bewilderment to me.
Milo, it makes no sense. 10 years?
But it's not the first time it's happened.
I don't know if I've ever read a story like this one before.
We had the case a couple of years back where the young lady was kidnapped and kept in the backyard of her captors for 16 years, 17 years.
But 1, 3, and a daughter 6 years old.
I know, it's crazy.
Milo, how could someone not notice? How?
Are
we saying they were chained
conditioned to mind our own business?
Were they chained for 10 years?
No. I don't have an answer for it, Armstrong. But I think the real story here is the mindful neglect of the community, and we've become desensitized in America to the point now where we see things that are wrong, but in the fear of not stepping on anybody's toes, we mind our own business. And these types of things are permitted to occur because we're all so busy minding our own business.
Talbot, are you with us now?
I am, yes. Hello, Milo.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
How could these 3 girls go missing for 10 years? Nobody noticed, not a peep. They're in this neighborhood, and they get away with this. How is it possible?
Well, the only thing I was just going to quickly add was I agree with what Milo said, obviously, but I think what happens is these are teenagers, remember, and
yes.
They are women, and they are, being psychologically manipulated by these people. Obviously, they threaten them with fear that they're going to kill their families, fear they're going to do this and that. Then they say you must do it this way, and then they give them a little more freedom each time that they show that they're not going to run away or they're going to do this and that. And if they try to go up against the authority at hand, I think what happens is they get slapped down, and then they, and it's a cycle. And so that's how they can stay for years because, like Milo said, that one woman whose name is escaping me that was kept out there for all those years and then had children, etc. And they kept saying, but why didn't you escape when they drove you into town? Why didn't they escape when they let you visit your family one time 10 years ago or whatever? It's because they're psychologically so abused that we can't even imagine something like that.
I would tell you this. The fact that you believe that our security in the neighborhood and the neighborhood watch is so focused and so self-absorbed on themselves, and you get 3, and they look like immigrants to me. I'm sorry. Do I sound bad saying that?
No. One of them was Hispanic.
They were brothers. They were all 3 were brothers. What are you talking about? They were
the brothers. I thought you meant the women. One was a Hispanic girl.
All 3 of these guys were brothers.
Yes, that's
true. But Amanda Berry and her sisters, the Gina De Jesus.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Right.
Listen, and they were kidnapped by these immigrants, probably illegal. Probably illegal.
Well, we don't know that. So
I'm giving my opinion. That's all I'm doing. You can give yours. Probably illegal. Okay?
Well, it's going to come out. The facts are going to come out, and we're going to, as the days unfold, it's going to be mind-blowing.
I'm telling you, you know what's sad? This is a sad statement for me. I found myself watery-eyed when I saw this story. I just...
Me too.
I could not I couldn't believe how overcome I was with emotions. I could not believe it.
The police chief was teary-eyed.
I think it speaks to a bigger problem, though. I remember as a child growing up, and we would spend the weekends in Brooklyn with my grandparents in Bedford-Stuyvesant, and I was not permitted to go. My area of freedom was, Nostrand to New York, and that was it. I had that block, either side of the street. Don't let my behind be found on the opposite side of Nostrand or New York Avenues. And you know something? My grandmother would know in 2 seconds because half the neighbors on the street knew that, her grandchildren were outside playing, and they knew our parameters, and they'd pick up the phone or walk across the street and grab us by the ear and pull us back where we belonged. And nobody assumed, said they were assaulting us. Nobody was telling them to mind their own business. The community was vested in our security and safety, and we could hang out on Prospect Place between Nostrand and New York and play all day long.
But you know what? Here's the other twist to this story. One of these guys was the bus driver, and they think he was able to pull it off by making sure it's the last stop. They knew exactly what they were doing, and she just disappeared. How could a child disappear, and if you're stopped, she never came home from the bus, and you're the bus driver? Seems to me it's just common sense to investigate. He was the bus driver, Milo.
Yeah, but Armstrong, it seems common sense, unless, of course, everybody in the community is desensitized and is walking the streets with their blinders on and doesn't want to, accuse anybody of anything. All this political correctness is shooting us in the foot.
Yeah.
I feel so bad. And then the mother died of pancreatic cancer, worried to death. Milo, that couldn't, listen, I don't believe that could happen to Milo's or Max's daughter. I don't believe that could happen. I don't believe that your daughter could be kidnapped for 10 years in your same neighborhood and you not know about it. You not find her. I just find it hard to believe.
But they may have chained these people up in a secret compartment. This is what they do. But they create these masterminds, these sick masterminds, which these are criminals. These 3 guys are pedophiles. Let's remember these girls were teenagers.
They were pregnant multiple times.
16. God knows how old the 20-year-old was. I didn't see. But I'm saying it's so mind-blowing, and it goes on every day in America.
You really think this goes on?
I do. I live in the state of Florida. Milo, I don't know where you're living presently, but I live in the state of Florida, and I had lived in California for quite some time, and both of those states are rampant with abduction of underage girls. They even do those things on the highway, we have Megan's Law, that's out of Florida. Everything, all this legislation that's been created to stop this stuff comes out of here because this is where a lot of this stuff goes on.
Is it more of a reflection of us, of what these criminals know they can get away with this because they've seen it done before? Do they watch these shows, Investigative ID, and these other Law and Order show, and they get ideas, the fact that they can get around the law? What are we doing wrong? This shouldn't happen here.
Armstrong, I think you're giving these guys way too much intellectual credit. I don't think there's that much thinking involved in it. I think
that's the sad part, Milo. Now that's the sad part, because you know what, Milo? I believe you. That's what scares me. It didn't require much. It was not a high bar to do what they did.
I'm going to invite a guest to join us momentarily, who is a Jamaican immigrant with 2 young children, and and it's interesting because his children are frequently in my offices, and when they misbehave, I correct them. And their parents don't slap me down for parenting their children because their culture says, we look out for ours.
I don't know.
I'm going to introduce you to Richard Levy shortly. He's going to join us after the break.
Look, all I can tell you is this. Those girls should not have suffered that fate. 10 years? 10 years?
You're going to get upset with me, but there was a series of breakdowns that permit something like that to occur. There is parenting deficits where the parents aren't ensuring and taking precautions to ensure that their children are supervised from point A to point B. There's failure to follow up. There's so many variables that impact on these cases.
Our phone lines are open. Milo has a special guest when we come back. Max and Max is with us. How could this happen? What can we do? We'll be back.
Say bye-bye burgers, pass on the pizza, forget the francs. Anytime is party time. Discover Golden Cross's authentic Jamaican-style patties. Beef, chicken, vegetables, soya, spinach, and shrimp. Feast on our great taste sensations. Jerk chicken, oxtail, sliced fish, and much more. Savor the taste of the Caribbean. Only at a Golden Cross near you. A family tradition since 1949. GoldenCrossBakery.com.
For more information on the Armstrong-Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong-Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams. What does it mean to be conservative? Freedom of speech, freedom of free enterprise, freedom of assembly, less government, less taxes. As a matter of fact, a flat tax. Everyone should pay proportional tax. It doesn't matter whether you make 100 million or 10,000. Everyone should pay their 10%. Everyone should have something at stake in this American economy. I'm Armstrong Williams expressing what we mean by conservative traditional value.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams with an opportunity to own a piece of paradise in Nassau, Bahamas. Spectacular land prices, 8,000 square feet, 20,000 square feet lot, affordable prices, hilltop properties with views of the magnificent sea. Just call 242-677-3120 or 3121 or go to info@rightsidewire.com and leave your information.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
Milo, introduce your guest. Richard Levy. Oh, no, we can't hear you. Oh, no. You're in a tunnel.
Hear me?
Thank you. Please.
Yeah. Richard Levy is a Jamaican immigrant. With many of his family are here in the States. And what's interesting about Richard is Richard's children are young children, although Richard is my age. He has a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old. And they go to school a couple of blocks from my office, and every day they walk here to my office where he collects them in the afternoon. And the cousins go to the high school, which is a couple of blocks, and the cousins come here, and the kids congregate here, and then Richard collects them here and returns them to their parents. But what's interesting about it is because of the culture, the rearing and protection of the children is the responsibility of the community at large, and it's not uncommon for Richard or his brother-in-law to call me and ask me to pick up one of the kids or to look out for one of the kids, so that somebody is always responsible. Well, I'm going to have Richard tell you this story, so I'm going to introduce you to Richard Levy.
Hello, Richard.
Hello, Armstrong. How are you today?
Fine. You're on with Maxie Baxie.
Oh.
Yes, hello.
Hey, Maxie.
Go ahead. Tell us your story.
Oh, certainly. Well, it's interesting that here in Georgia, as much as elsewhere in the world, many of the children that we have in the neighborhood are actually watched over by everyone in the neighborhood. My home is 2.5 blocks from our public school. The office here where Milo is 4 blocks in the opposite direction, and everything is between 3 major schools, elementary, a middle, and a high school. And as parents, it's our responsibility not just for our own kids, but all the kids that we see walking to and from school every day. So, we're involved in the PTA, we know the kids, we go to the plays, we see the children, and we know the faces. We also know the faces in the neighborhood. So there's no major fear when I allow my children to walk to school and to walk back home, but I also know how long it takes them to walk, and 30 seconds after I expect them, I'm outside the door checking on them. And if I'm not checking on them, I'm calling someone else in the neighborhood who I can say, hey, take a look, do you see them?
That's a good point.
I don't know if this is normal.
Maxa, go ahead.
Yeah, my only thing is not to go up against Milo and your guest. I just, when I hear a story like this, I'm so overwhelmed by the abuse of the male captors that I rather focus on that. I'm sure the parents did the best they could at the time. Lord knows it'll all come out. But could we talk a little bit about why these sick individuals are committing these crimes and even being allowed to in our society? Perhaps it is because, yeah.
Before you shift gears to that, I'm not suggesting that in any way, shape, or form that this is the parents' fault. Okay. What I'm speaking to is a bigger plague that affects our culture across this country, which is communities have become desensitized. We've become disinterested and uninvolved in our community. We don't know our neighbors, and it's because of these conditions that this type of heinous thing can occur. Look, these guys will obviously have great deal wrong with them, and they're sociopaths.
Yeah.
So they were going to do this regardless of whatever the case was. But for a period of 10 years, these children were in the very community that they were from, and nobody picked up on it. Nobody knew.
Yeah, exactly. I do agree with that.
And there's something wrong with that. I see my buddy Richard's children on the street, and I'm pulling over to say, where are you going? What are you doing? Does your father know where you are?
Exactly.
And that's a good point. And someone should have noticed the strange behavior of these brothers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that these women, did they ever come, or these girls, did they ever come in and out of this home or what? I mean, it was, it's going to be remarkable to find out the facts.
Yeah. But what concerns me is that, we can't, obfuscate the obligation and the responsibility of the perpetrators. It's their fault. That's it, and that's not in question here. But we really need to think about it, what has been lost and why we're permitting these things to occur. Every week, every other week here in Georgia, we hear yellow alerts, amber alerts. They come on your cell phone, they come on your television. This is happening way too often, and the frequency of incident is what concerns me. I don't remember this as a child.
Me neither.
Well, this is Richard Levy again. I've heard stories from my parents and from people of the next generation above me. And in Jamaica, during their time, there have always been sociopaths. And the sociopaths were dealt with at the level of the village. And what I mean dealt with is that they never got out the village alive.
Right.
This definitely curtails the entire sociopath problem rather quickly. And when it comes to abusing children, even prisoners don't like people that abuse children.
Yeah.
And we're not suggesting that vigilantism is the solution, but a clear line, a more definitive approach to the prosecution of these cases. And before I go down that path, let me correct that, because the reality of it is the people that perpetrate these crimes don't expect to get caught. So the punishment is not a deterrent. But what we do need to do is we need to be vested in our mental health facilities. And when we see people out in the street who have been excessed from the mental health facilities because of crowding, we shouldn't be releasing them onto the street without supervision. Putting ankle bracelets on them and tracking their whereabouts is not an intrusion upon their civil liberties. It's as much to protect them and to protect the community that they've been discharged in.
You know, it's interesting. If these brothers, these monsters, are capable of kidnapping these young girls without any thought, they're capable of murder. We have no idea what else they may have done in the course of living there. We have no idea. I don't put anything past these people.
It's appalling.
It is, but how is it that Berry alerted a neighbor for help when Castro was out of the home? What happened? What was different this time of all the other times he wasn't in the home?
Well, I think what was different, because I've just seen a little bit about it, is that the girl Megan was her name, or what was her name again, Milo? I forgot. The one that escaped. She busted through the door when he went to McDonald's and said, hurry up, I've listened to the tape. Hurry up, somebody's got to help me. I have such a short time. He's gone to McDonald's. He's coming back. I've been hiding. You've seen me on the news. I've been here for 10 years. Somebody. She was out on the street. They showed the guy she was talking to.
Right.
They interviewed him. And he said he had ribs and played dominoes and did things with this guy and his brothers and did not have a clue these girls were living in there.
Right.
Which,
I don't know how that happens. I just don't.
I don't either.
And I'm looking at an aerial shot of the house. The block has 6 houses on it.
I know.
There's 6 houses on the entire block.
I know. And you know what it is? When you look at these other cases, which I know Mr. Levy and Milo are familiar with, and Armstrong, the J.C. Dugard case, that Austrian woman, the one, the most appalling of the appalling, the ones we've read the most about. You sit there and you think, good Lord, how did this happen? How? Well, this is the first one I've heard of where there are 3 women for 10 or more years living in a small home like that, and they can't overpower these people. They can't somehow, it's like they say that Stockholm syndrome or whatever. They feel that these people are in charge, that they're their family, that they're this, that they're that. It's mind-blowing. They weren't on a farm. They were right next door to everyone.
It's a frightening thing. But the real question is, we can talk about it. This is titillating, makes great radio and television, and I'm sure the movie deal will come out in short order. But like my same question on every issue that Armstrong and I discuss, what steps can we take to prevent it from occurring in the future? Because that's what the real issue is. The problems are going to present themselves. How can we minimize the negative impacts associated with them?
I think we've answered it in so many ways. But, the thing about it is, unless, maybe we need to have a value on all our neighborhoods where you have policemen. Obviously, you did not have police patrolling that neighborhood. Obviously, there was not a strong presence of what could have been done. And let's say if that had happened in a place like in one of these suburbs of Washington, D.C., or and on Logan Circle in Boston, Massachusetts, the response may be different. I think we place different values on neighborhoods. I think that's reflected.
I'm sorry, if you look at this neighborhood, there's no way that they didn't have regular patrols. There's commercial buildings on flanking 3 sides of this property.
And to Mila's point earlier in the show, I just want to add something. I think as a mother of a 12-year-old girl and a 15-year-old boy, my 15-year-old is 6'3" now, so he can kind of almost take care of himself to a degree, but when it comes to being physically attacked. But let me tell you what, my 12-year-old daughter living in South Florida, with much like what Milo had said about when you see these Amber Alerts, etc., I made the decision long ago to tell her flat out, if you are whisked up and thrown into a trunk, if anything should happen to you where you are quickly in 3 seconds put out of being able to get away, what is the one thing I, as your mother, could tell you to do? There's one thing. Get away. Get away, lose a limb, take a bullet, whatever it is, get away, because you do not want to have to live through what these people are going to do to you. And I said, that's my only advice. I take care of my children. I do what I can. I try, just like Milo was saying, I have neighborhood people. I have help. I have family, mother, whatever. But there's nothing I can do if we're at a 7-Eleven and some 3 men pull up in a car and throw my daughter, put a chloroform on her and throw her in the back of the thing. It happens in 3 seconds.
Milo is going to handle this, and Maxie, I'm going to step away and let them take over the reins, and they're going to do just fine.
Take it away, guys. They'll come back to you shortly.
Armstrong Williams returns in a moment.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Life is full of unexpected changes. Everyone has potential to do wrong. And when they choose to do it, contact the Bucksell Group for your private investigation needs. TheBucksellGroup.com or by phone at 202-243-9746. Whether there's an instance of a cheating spouse, child custody, process service, or security, don't continue suspecting. Get closure so that you can move on with your life. Visit TheBucksellGroup.com now or call 202-243-9746. If you think it's happening, it probably is.
To travelers along the road of life who have fallen asleep at the wheel, to the many who woke up in time to avert disaster and get back on the righteous path. For the ones who crashed and survived and now adhere vigilantly to a virtuous and righteous path. Finally, Armstrong Williams' much-anticipated new book, Reawakening Virtues, gives his insights into these daily challenges and much more. Reawakening Virtues is available in bookstores and at Amazon.com.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sports shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Most Americans simply have never been taught the basics of money management, let alone how to secure their financial future. But there is hope. Financial Education and Literacy Advisors, also known as FELA, does what others don't. FELA teaches financial education. If you'd like more information about providing a financial wellness program for your employees, or a credit-bearing college course in personal finance, or other valuable programs, please visit myfela.com. That's myfela.com, or send an email to info@myfela.com.
Elder Chicks is an exciting part of the fastest growing segment of the population. Women in their 70s, 80s, and older who are mastering the art of a senior life. We're no longer unseen and unheard. We're providing role models for each other and the baby boomers who are fast approaching retirement. Join our virtual community. Hit www.elderchicks.com on your computer keyboard.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
Well, welcome back. You know, I'm sorry that we lost Armstrong for the second half here, but you know, I must say I am distressed by these types of cases. I wish that, you know, obviously like everybody else, that they never occurred. But I think that at the beginning and end of all this, it always comes down to the same thing, that we as the community have to assume responsibility, and then not only to protect our children, but to correct the deficiencies that permit these cases to occur. And you know, that's where I live with it.
I agree.
You know, Richard, you know, as a parent, your children are out. I see your children every day. I see your brother-in-law's children. I see your nephews. How is it that your family has managed to integrate the entire family, both nuclear and extended, in the parenting and care of the children?
For us, it's a matter of one, culture. The culture we came from was one of family inclusion, not exclusion. And just the need to stick together and understand that it requires a village to raise a child. I hate the cliche, but I'll use it anyway. It's not just me that is inputting into the child, and it's not just the teachers that they see each day. And if you only leave it up to the teachers, that's what they're going to get. That raising of the child and raising even of your daughter, when I see your daughter, even as old as she is, I look out for her. I see her 2-3 times a week because I drive around. She doesn't like when I look out the window and watch her for about 3 seconds. But I do keep an eye on her. So it is more of a mental state of awareness that we as parents should have versus putting up with what is normal and just watching out for my own.
Do you think police are the answer?
Oh, I think police would be a wonderful answer if the police actually acted as they did in the past, where they were part of the neighborhood, they walked the streets, they knew the names, and they knew who the people were. Now, if you add an extra cop, you're adding another person who's going to give me a ticket and make money. Is that their purpose? Now, I know I'm probably oversimplifying the police's function, and if you're an officer out there, forgive me. But the fact is that when the cops come in, part of what they're doing is raising dollars for the police station. I want them to come in. If I can pay for an officer's salary, I want that officer to be part of my community. I want them to know what's going on at the school, and I want them to be taken care of by the community.
Macy? Macy, did we lose you?
Oh, no, I'm here. Sorry. What did you say? Oh, you wanted me to comment on that? Yeah, where I live in Florida, I live in a small town, but just over the bridge is a large city, and the city is inundated with crime, really some horrific things going on all the time, and the police there are constantly having to prioritize, like you do in a triage situation. They've got to say, okay, what's the number one thing I got to deal with right now? Whereas in the little town where I live over the bridge, we don't have that. Your doors can remain unlocked. You can, look out, and like Mr. Levy was saying, I get frustrated with the police or the cops here because they often, you don't come to a complete stop at the stop sign, you rolled for 1 second, or, little things, and I'm sitting there going, hey, wait a minute, aren't you supposed to be doing something else? So I do feel what both of you are saying. I experience it every day here, but it, again, I don't know if they're the answer. I think the answer comes from the family, like what we were on to before.
I would agree with you. I'll tell you, though, I'm a child of the 60s, and I grew up in the neighborhood, and we had, most of the cops that worked in our neighborhood couldn't afford to live in it. We had a police station at the front entrance to our community, and the cops were required to do a shift weekly. So they actually lived in the police station, and if it was raining, the cops would stop and pick you up and drive you home from school. If your dog got out, sometimes they would grab your dog and return you home. They'd give you a citation, but they'd bring your dog home, and they knew us by name. And when we were riding on the street, or if we were riding on the sidewalk, and we weren't supposed to be in the street because our parents only gave us sidewalk permission, the cops knew it, and they'd tell you get the bike back up on the sidewalk. So they were in the community. They were part of the community. They were people that were party to your upbringing. Do we need to return to community-based policing, and do we need to require police to live in the communities that they serve? I'll put it up to the floor, either one.
Okay. I think that would be a great thing. But again, where I live, most police can't afford to live in the town. Most live right across the bridge. But they, I don't know. I again think that, I have a 12-year-old like I think you do or Mr. Levy does. But and it's a daughter, I often tell her, we are not living in a country where things don't occur. Like, I'm going to show her the story. I'm going to say, take a look. This occurred right on the back door stoop, front, right around the corner from where these people were abducted. And you've got to look at your surroundings. I have a master's in social work, and I feel like you learn these techniques, you learn these skills, and you've got to teach your children today, what these are. You have to let them be prepared so they're not just a deer in the headlights when things do occur. They do have seconds matter when somebody abducts you. Those seconds matter.
How do we educate our kids about this without it being fear-mongering? How do we do it?
I know, that's the hard part.
Because that's what our listeners need to know is how do they tell their children to
the way I did it was I waited until my daughter's 12. I waited until the last couple of years when it was getting so bad here in West Palm Beach and on up to Orlando and down into the Miami area that I just had to say, okay, I'm making a decision that I've got to talk to you about this. My son was a little different because he was a boy. Number one, he was always a big boy, a big guy, taller than he was for his age. So I felt that. But again, I would talk to him about it. But, you come to a point where you have to say to your kids, we live here. This can go on. It happened on the 7-Eleven. It happened right here on your stoop. It happened just the other day. And it's our world. I don't know.
Richard, your children walk from school unsupervised, but I notice they always walk in groups.
That's true.
They're never alone.
That's because that is the rule. If you're walking home, you walk in groups. Otherwise, you go to the office and you call and you get a ride. My children, because of their age, 10 and 12, or 10 and 13 now, they still haven't developed situational awareness. And I don't think you really get situational awareness until you're just a little bit older than that. It varies from boys and girls and everything else, but as you said, if you train them into being situationally aware, they can do it. And it can be done without being fear-mongered. Yeah. You can talk about what's going on as you're driving down the block. When you see things, if you point it out, they become acclimated to looking for things that are occurring around them. So when I am driving down the street and something looks out of place, I'll mention it, say, did you notice that? And they'll take a look and they'll say, yeah, I wonder why that's that way.
So it's conditional adjustment and familiarization with the elements that may present a threat either today or at a later date.
Absolutely. But I think what I am going to do after this radio show is have a talk with my kids about seconds count.
Right.
What do you do in those first few seconds if things are going wrong?
Frequently in abductions, the children are thrown in the trunk. And one of the things that I think is important to always let children know is that the tail lights in the trunk of a car are designed to be able to be punched out from inside.
Absolutely.
And if you're thrown in the back of a car, you kick out the tail lights, and then you stick your hands out and you wave to gain attention so that somebody can see that you're in the back of the car.
Right.
And then no matter what, you make as much noise as you possibly can.
Absolutely.
As long as you possibly can.
As long as you possibly can. And whenever you see another person, regardless of what the abductor tells you. It's interesting. My daughter is 18 today, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
And she had her high school prom, her senior prom last week. And my son, I was visiting with my son, and I'd indicated to him that I was letting his sister stay out, past midnight. And my 25-year-old son reprimanded me like I was a negligent parent. How dare I let his sister out? Where was she? And what was I, thinking had I lost my edge?
Mm-hmm.
So,
it made you think.
Times have changed. But, it was interesting because my daughter has traveled a great deal. She always travels in groups. And they were out for prom for a group. And one of the parents, I was very tickled by, she asked me if she could stay at the hotel across from the venue where the prom was. A bunch of them were going to stay at the hotel, she and a few of her girlfriends. And my son thought I had completely lost it because I gave her an affirmative answer. But the reason I gave her an affirmative answer was that the aunt of one of her girlfriends was staying in the suite with them, unbeknownst to my daughter.
Exactly. Well, I think what you can take away from this too, and I think you both would agree, is that you have to have the seconds count, and you have to have mechanisms in place in your mind that actions that you can that can make those things different. And the kicking of the tail lights, telling your kids, you don't have to give them all the details, but you can tell them these things occur, and then also saying, this is what you can do. Look at all those girls in North Carolina that were abducted in those Targets and Kmarts and Walmarts. Every one of them, inevitably, that got away, these are 8- and 7-year-olds. These are 6-year-olds. They're the ones that were taught, because they were interviewed. I've researched this. They were taught by their parents to kick, scream, and grab as hard as you could, because you have to make, just what Mr. Levy said, you have to make as much noise as possible, and those are the people that get away.
We're up on the break, so thank you.
Say bye-bye burgers, pass on the pizza, forget the francs. Anytime is party time. Discover Golden Crust's authentic Jamaican-style patties. Beef, chicken, vegetables, soya, spinach, and shrimp. Feast on all great taste sensations. Jerk chicken, oxtail, sliced fish, and much more. Savor the taste of the Caribbean. Only at a Golden Cross near you. A family tradition since 1949. GoldenCrossBakery.com.
For more information on the Armstrong-Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong-Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong-Williams.
We're back, and we're talking about this heinous case of these three girls that were abducted, and let's move to some of the positive things that we can do and give the listeners some help on some steps that they can take. See, one of the things that you had spoken and we had spoken about briefly were some of the things that we can do about training our children. Richard had touched on situational awareness. You spoke about a method with which parents could introduce this case and avoid fear. In this last segment, if we could touch on that, but before we do so, let's just talk about a couple of the simple things that we can do. Most of our phone services, AT&T, Verizon, and the like, have family services that enable you to track your cell phones. Parents should spend the extra $5-10 a month so that they can track their children's whereabouts, especially with young children. Giving kids cell phones is not about texting and playing. It's a safety device today, and it's worthwhile. There are products like GPS bracelets, and a simple search for GPS bracelet for kids will bring up 30 or 40 different suppliers who provide GPS tracking locators that enable you to track your children. These are some simple steps that we can take to enhance the security and safety of our children. But more importantly than any of them is the engagement and involvement of ourselves and our community in looking out for one another. And we need to be less concerned with our political correctness and more concerned with how we protect our children. Are there some specific steps that you can recommend to parents? And I'll turn it to both of you.
I would think one of the important things is to keep up-to-date files. Unfortunately, most of the things that we can do is for after your child is abducted, not before. Having your child's fingerprints on file, having an up-to-date picture that's not more than a month old, being aware of what they wore out the house that day, knowing their height and weight and other characteristics so that you can quickly get that information out there. Amber Alert is good, but an Amber Alert with a full description and a picture is so much better.
If I could add to that, Richard, one of the things that I remember as a child, my father always taught us, travel the same route so that he knew which way we were going.
Right.
And that way he always knew where we were. If we were traveling for school, walk the same ways. Because if it was raining, he'd stop and pick us up. That's something that we want to do nowadays, but I would ask parents to rotate the pattern so that, Monday walk this way, Tuesday and Wednesday walk that way. Macy, what thoughts do you have on the subject?
Again, I agree with both of you. I think what you've said is exactly correct, and I really don't have much more to add other than the parts which I've spoken to earlier in the show about giving your children skills. Children, when they love and trust you, they also give you the right to empower them. And I think it's important to empower your children, to, give them the skills that we talked about earlier, that seconds count, that there are little things you can do to make a difference in your ability to escape a captive or a captor. I mean, you've got to walk that fine line between how much I'm going to tell my child at what age and exactly when and how I'm going to help them if they should ever, God forbid, find themselves in this situation.
Macy, we have 2.5 minutes. How do parents educate their children, their young children, about this case without inducing fear and providing education?
Quickly, I would just say I would show them a little bit about the case. Depending on their age, I would even let them watch a little bit of the news segment because, the news is filtered. And then I would say, okay, how does this apply to you? X, Y, and Z. And you decide within your community how it does or does not apply to your child and give them some skills.
Richard, how are you going to share this with your children?
I think first, thank God that we were able to record things first. So I figure I'll record the news tonight, review what's on there, and then decide what I'll be showing them.
From a technology standpoint, and I know you know a little bit about technology, what are some simple solutions beyond what I've mentioned that parents can implement?
Certainly one of the things that we... I really can't stand the whole texting, but texting is great for knowing the whereabouts of your child without having to tag them with a GPS. They can quickly tell you where they're at because they're all much faster on the keyboard than I ever will be. The other thing that you can do is, because we are all available through email, SMS, and other methods, they should know multiple ways of getting a hold of you and others. So what we have set up is a single email address that then rebroadcasts out to multiple parents. They know this one email address. Anything that's sent to it is automatically sent out to everybody.
Those are some good points, but something else that you didn't mention that you would do, because I know it's raining. There are days that your children have no problem calling me or stopping by and saying, Mr. Milo, can you? It's important to have friends in the community that you can rely upon, who know your children, who can pick up your children, and who are concerned with your children.
Absolutely.
Yep, 100%.
It's interesting. As I said, I was raised in the 60s, and my father was a physician, and there was never a time where I couldn't reach him, and that was before cell phones. When he left the office, he would call service and tell service where he was going. When he got to the hospital, he would call service and tell them he was at the hospital. When he was going to the next hospital, he would call and say he was leaving. When he arrived there, he would say where he was. I could always locate my father within 2 phone calls at any point in time. And when I got married to my current wife in 1993, she thought I was onerous and that I always demanded to know where everybody in the family was, and I always was reporting back to the family where I was when I wasn't with them. And she thought it was silly. And today, in light of this case, I not only do I not think it was silly, I think it's a good practice, and I'm glad I'm old-fashioned. I'm going to retain my old-fashioned practices.
Absolutely.
We've got 10 minutes to go. Let's open the lines to some callers. I'm sure Nancy is screening the calls. Just pop them in, Nancy, if you have them. Richard, until the first caller comes in, tell us about GPS bracelets and how they work and what parents can do with them.
Certainly. GPS bracelet is a small device that actually tracks, for the better ones, will track in excess of 5 or 7 satellites to get a very precise location. But the reality is you only need an imprecise location to get them going. They then have the ability to communicate out on different mechanisms. They'll either go out over Wi-Fi, because there's a lot of open Wi-Fi out there, or they can go out over a cellular network and send small pieces of information out. It doesn't take a whole lot of data to let you know where you're at. So once it gets latched onto a system where it can send out, the information is then uploaded to a database and tracked, and the timestamp for the time that wherever you are at. Interestingly enough, if you use something like Google Locator, so I'm set up on Google Locator, and when I take trips, everybody that needs to know where I am can just sign into Google Maps and see exactly where I'm located. And at the end of a month or any time period, I can go back and actually track where I've been for the last 90 days, and it will actually tell me everywhere I've gone.
Are these devices obvious to a perpetrator, or could they be masked in some other...
Yeah, so I would expect that if I were a perpetrator, I would certainly be looking for some type of device. But if you are not well trained, you would probably not notice the watch that a person's wearing. You would certainly pull their cell phone because, every cop program in the world has the cops tracking you by cell phone. But not necessarily by your watch or by a bracelet or by a hairpin. My preference for this type of thing is something that you can actually hide. My daughter, who has a lot of hair, I would hope they would have something that would actually weave into her hair. Where for you to get it out, you would actually have to take a look into it and find it. So things like choke collars that just look like jewelry are fantastic, because that's the last thing that a person's going to pull off of you.
The same is true with some of the rings, and there's actually a GPS locator earring, and for young children, a small toy. And the perpetrators are not likely to identify these as such, and it's going to give you an added opportunity to protect your children and increase the likelihood of their child being found in the first 15 or 20 minutes of an abduction. So,
yeah, and just to add another quick point, these things you all have mentioned are excellent, and there are, here in the state of Florida, specifically, there's a company which created that GPS chip that you can inject into, right under your arm, and nobody would be able to ever know you had that or know that it was there. They use it on pets, and they use it on the elderly who have dementia and Alzheimer's, because a lot of times people go wandering or this or that, and although that's extreme, it is, yet again, another option.
No, and I don't know that it's all that extreme.
I know. I'm starting to think I might have to do it to my daughter. I couldn't imagine if they threw her cell phone away, took all her clothes off, her jewelry, whatever, and then there would be nothing. But if she had one of those tiny chips.
My daughter was on spring break last month, and she and 4 of her friends went down to Florida for spring break for a week.
Yep.
And she drove her car down, and it was 2 girls and 3 boys. And first thing I did was advise the 3 boys that, had anything happened to any one of the 2 girls, that there was nowhere on the planet that they could safely hide.
Exactly.
And then after doing that, I explained to them that they were to, escort. If the girls wanted to go anywhere, that they were not to go anywhere unless they were escorted by the boys.
Exactly.
But and then I activated the cell phone tracker on her cell phone and the GPS on her car.
Yep, you got to do
it.
I
monitor it from my desk here at the office.
Good job.
And she's 18 and 5'10", and nobody's patsy.
Exactly.
We're on the break. Macy, I thank you for your time. Richard, I thank you for yours.
Thank you.
At the top of the hour, to all those my fellow parents, watch our children, be safe, and be a neighbor.
For more information on the Armstrong-Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong-Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams. What does it mean to be conservative? Freedom of speech, freedom of free enterprise, freedom of assembly, less government, less taxes. As a matter of fact, a flat tax. Everyone should pay proportional tax. It doesn't matter whether you make $100 million or $10,000. Everyone should pay their 10%. Everyone should have something at stake in this American economy. I'm Armstrong Williams, expressing what we mean by conservative traditional values.
Elder Chicks is an exciting part of the fastest growing segment of the population. Women in their 70s, 80s, and older who are mastering the art of a senior life. We're no longer unseen and unheard. We're providing role models for each other and the baby boomers who are fast approaching retirement. Join our virtual community. Hit www.elderchicks.com on your computer keyboard.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
Good God! I got to ask you what we need. Soul food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. No, I like it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. Hit me.
Home of the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get the Henrys at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul food. Henry Soul Food. What we need. Soul food. Henry Soul Food.
Welcome to the Armstrong Williams Show, brought to you by Golden Crust Bakery, the fastest growing Caribbean-owned franchise in the United States. Golden Crust is committed to the delivery of quality food and excellent customer service. Visit them today at goldencrustbakery.com.